One of my favorite parts from any bit of literature comes from the Neil Gaiman book American Gods. In it, the main character, Shadow Moon, he's involved with all kinds of supernatural things in this setting, and he's kind of allowed to be behind the scenes of what we perceive as reality, which is kind of like a dream world. And while he's in this dream state, he's given two paths by his guide. And she tells him one path is the path of convenient lies and comfortable lies, and the other path is the path of inconvenient truths. He's like, well, which one do I take? And she's like, well, you could choose either path, but you can only choose one. And I'll tell you right now, neither path is easy. Which do you choose? And he goes, I'll choose the path of truths. I've been lied to enough. Now, the older I get, the harder that line hits, because he says, I've been lied to enough. He didn't say by whom. And you know, the person who lies to you the most is usually yourself. I've had to come to terms with that. Could I have done plenty of other things if I didn't lie to myself? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And once you get past that, you can really take the reins out of fear's grip and put it in your own. And once you're not afraid of things, you're superpowered. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's easy for you to say, Dave, you're on the spectrum. But it's like, no, I feel fear. I feel fear, but I manage it in a much more compartmentable way where I can say, it's there. I'll deal with it later. I'm putting it to the side. I'm putting down that luggage. I'm not carrying that baggage with me to the mat. I can deal with the fear after the fact. Like I'll grapple the John Combs. I'll throw up later. I'll do this task. I'll adrenaline dump later. Like whatever it is. But when we stop taking ownership of our actions and our own lies and all this other stuff, and we just keep feeding ourselves all these other things as to why we shouldn't do a thing, we keep giving those reins back to the fear.
Yeah. There's also one thing I like to always say is whenever someone's trying to give you like their emotional baggage, like they're trying to let out whatever they're going through or anything, it's kind of like they're giving you a balloon. And some people just have the balloons and they just don't know what to do with it. There's nothing wrong with just letting it go. They can do whatever they want because, like, you know, people have their problems and everything, and it's good to talk it out, good to communicate with people, but you don't have to keep someone else's luggage. You don't have to keep someone else's balloon. Just let it go, and you'll be a lot happier.
God, I hate that I'm forgetting this author's name, but the Tao of Piglet, the Tao of Piglet and the Day of Pooh, or vice versa. I'm getting that backwards. Tao of Pooh, Day of Piglet. So, Tao, pronounced Tao. It's like the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. It's like, okay, you sound like a Westerner, but I forget the author's name, but the Way of Pooh, meaning Winnie the Pooh. Whereas, you know, Tigger is this chaotic entity of bubbly energy, and Owl pontificates the existence of the world and everything. Pooh is. He just is, right? If we could all be like that, we would have world peace, right? Like, oh, bother. like the worst thing in the world can happen to Pooh. Oh, bother. You know, like he just is. And I wish we could all find that sense of peace in ourselves, but it takes a lot of time. And to go back to Chuck Palahniuk, the author I said before who wrote Fight Club, same book rant, he said, some of us are born human. The rest of us take a lifetime to get there. Learning is hard. Learning about yourself is hardest. And fixing yourself is the hardest thing of all. Now, in the Day of Piglet and in the Tao of Pooh, the common trend is you're finding the path that leads you to those uncomfortable questions you have to ask yourself that are stopping you from your own personal development. And usually it's about comfort. The more comfortable we get, the lazier we become, the more we develop those bad habits. The more we seek the discomfort and we seek to get ourselves out of that zone, that's where growth happens, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's, fighting through an injury, obviously within the realm of what you're capable of. I'm an idiot, don't do exactly what I do in that respect. Like, I could have really, really hurt myself more, but I felt competent that I can get away with enough to make it work. And it did. Fast forward, I've used these coping skills multiple times from a micro level of get through this uncomfortable talk with my boss to macro levels. I have this major event with this well known person where a lot of people are expecting me to have a certain outcome. Let me produce. And it doesn't matter how small, how mundane, or how massive and earth shaking. You develop the same skills across the board for either of the scenarios, and you're going to have that in your back pocket for the rest of your life. You will not be controlled by fear. And especially for someone like myself, like I focus a lot on the efficient way of doing a thing. I don't ever want to do something just because it worked. If I can do it in 3 steps as opposed to 5, I want to do it in 2. I'm going to keep trying to find the most efficient way of doing a thing. And now, the most efficient thing I have for when I deal with fear is I tell people it's like, try not to worry. Worry makes you suffer twice. Just, you can worry later. But if you worry now, it's just an added distraction. My best advice to people who have what they feel is like they're incapable of taking that ownership over the devices or things that give them that anxiety or set them back, or they have their reservations about doing a thing. They're too afraid to make that next step. Every Western omelet that doesn't get made is still scrambled eggs. Like, you have to get to that point in your life where even though you had the best intentions and the best laid plans and they don't go through, unless you have somehow burned that thing to the ground in the pursuit of it, if there's still some kind of resource there, whether the resource is time or it's an actual object or something, as long as you didn't destroy the resource, the time or the actual object, just do it again. And we've stopped getting into this habit of accepting mundane losses on the path to success. And when you do that, you're just blindsided every day by the what ifs instead of the how comes. Because when I say, how come this happened? I can fix that. But if I worry about what if, I didn't even get to try it. You know what beats a failure? An attempt.
Yeah.
I have people who fail more than they attempt. I can't fathom it. And I'm like, you tried this once and you stopped. How do you know you suck at it? Oh, because you didn't do it this one day? You're learning a skill. Man, what if you never decided to walk because you fell the first time you tried it?
Yeah. There's a quote that's like, a winner or someone who tries will make more fails than someone who never tried.
Yeah, super losers. I'm a super loser. Yeah, I've lost so much that eventually it got to the point where I don't know new ways to lose. Great. Now that I've lost in so many ways, guess I can only go up.
Edison took 10,000 tries to make the light bulb. He just learned 9,999 ways of not making a light bulb.
Exactly. Perspective and perseverance. Perspective. I can see this thing as if I don't exist within it, and I can act according to what I perceive. Right? Perseverance. There's things happening all around me that I cannot remove myself from. I cannot. If I just fold mentally, physically, whatever, I'm not helping the situation. This is around me. I have to persevere. It's easy for people to have perspective and be like, well, I'm taking myself out of this situation and looking at it. Look, I can't do anything. I'm just going to not change a thing. Your perspective is flawed. instead of trying to pull yourself out of the situation and looking at it with perspective, why not try to persevere? Why not say, I'm in this situation and I'm going to thrive despite it? So-and-so is saying bad things behind my back. Great. Did it ruin your sleep?
They think that you're worth talking about.
Well, there's that too, which is like, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like, I would rather have someone talk bad about me and then you be like, oh, now I'm in your mind. Oh, okay.
Oh, I live in people's head rent free. But the idea is like, people who are incapable of change find themselves making excuses based on their surroundings. And they're like, well, look at this. Look, this is the situation. And they want to use that perspective to kind of give themselves an out instead of like, hey, this is around me. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to make it through this. Winning despite having the least is what the Marines are known for in the US. We have the worst budget. We get the hand-me-downs from the Navy. We're still using M16s from the 1980s, and we're still kicking butts. Doing the most with the least, doing the most with the least. But when I think of a narrative that highlights my mindset, I love the fact that in the Norse mythology, the deities that they have in their pantheon, like Odin and Thor and all them, like the part that people might not be familiar with is the fact that Odin had one eye and he lost that eye willingly to get future sight. And when he got future sight, he didn't see sunshine and rainbows. He saw what is the end of his whole race of beings, which were the Aesir. They're gods in that mythology. But the problem is, as great as the gods might be, there's worse things out there. And in their world, they had the giants, the frost giants and the flame giants. And he sees that in the end of times, the good guys fight and they lose. They all die. But because of their efforts, the humans on Midgard, us, we get to live. So it's a tale of sacrifice. He knows they will lose if they fight. So could he have fled and survived? The answer is yes. He could have chosen to let fear win and decide to not fight. But if he did that, they would have come through and burned Midgard, Earth, and then we would die. Now, if we give them power through prayer, they have an obligation to defend us. We can't beat those things. But by them sacrificing them, it stops them from taking us. And so the quote from the Elder Edda, which is the book that this comes from, says, "The power of good is not shown by triumphantly defeating evil, but by continuing to resist it, even if you know you will face certain defeat." If you're good because you think you're good, and you only do the good things when you know you win, you're not good. You're a fair weather friend. Now, I might sound highly educated quoting the Elder Edda prose Norwegian style, but now I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to quote Randy Blythe, who's a metal guitar singer for the band Lamb of God. And I'm going to quote him when he says this one line in the song Enslaved, Dead, or Depraved, where he says, "Anyone can hold the helm while the seas are calm." Actually, it wasn't Randy Blythe. It was, he did other vocals on that. Sorry. It was, lead singer of Hatebreed. Why am I forgetting? Please, anybody listening, don't hate me on this. Jamie Josta. Sorry. I was about to hate myself. Jamie Josta from Hatebreed. He said, "Anyone can hold the helm while the seas are calm." Like, fair weather friends are my least favorite people in the world. You want to be by me when times are great? Be by me when I'm at my worst, right? Be proud of yourself despite your setbacks. Be proud of yourself, especially when you lose. Having that ability to say to yourself, you are good enough, you did well enough. And having that acceptance will lead you to making more bad choices later, which leads to better character development. Fail, fail again, fail better, right? One of my favorite quotes, fail, fail again, fail better. Ever tried, never failed.
But you can't, it's stupid to fail and not learn from it. Like you have to
Absolutely.
fail with the intention of, I will learn it so I don't make that same mistake again.
You should. But I mean, can't say them all.
phrase, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. If I fool myself twice, there's no one else to shame. There's no third time. That's
Unless you're former President George W. Bush. Well, the point is you can't fool me again. No, this is fun. I think as a thought experiment, listening to some of the perspective things about what can lead to a good training environment, what leads to people making better choices about getting into any endeavor that has a huge component of should I do this? What happens if I do this? Will I be good at this? And then knowing that you're going to be looking left and right at other people at mixed stages of their development, comparing yourself and trying not to compare yourself and saying, should I belong here? Do I belong here or am I an imposter? All of this, once again, goes back to fear, right? Am I going to get hurt? Am I going to look good? Am I going to look bad? Are people going to like me? Am I going to make friends? Like, it's all fear. And then, am I going to get there in this time? You're putting these prefabricated things in your head as like self-destructive IEDs of your own mind. You're saying, I'm going to do this until this pre-designated time that I will shoot myself in the foot and take myself out of the equation because I don't want to succeed.
and you planted those IEDs yourself. It's like
You did it yourself.
You went inside, you physically took out the dirt, put it in, put it back.
It's like if Scooby-Doo was saying, oh, who's the culprit? And you pull off the mask and it's Scooby-Doo. It's like, oh, it was us the whole time. One of the greatest thought-provoking quotes that I had read when I was in college, when I was studying with this one instructor, John Carita. He said, we stopped looking under the bed for monsters when we realized they were inside of us all along. That's a spicy one. Cool. Well, Aaron,
no, that's plenty. That's more than
I thoroughly enjoyed this. I would say if anybody's listening and they're thinking about getting into any kind of martial arts, the most important thing is do your research first and go to a variety of sources. Take 1 or 2 classes at each one. Find the fit that works best for you and the schedule that's best for you. Because if you know you can't make the classes often, it's easy to go from 1 class a week to being no classes a week. So try to find the schedule that makes it easy for you to hit 7, 8 classes a week if you wanted to, because then you're giving yourself the most options. Other than that, stay off the internet, especially Reddit.
yeah. Don't listen to podcasts.
No. Stay off of the internet for learning skill-based things as the primary method for doing it. Use it supplemental in a supplemental sense, and then make sure that you surround yourself with good training partners. And when you find a training partner that's perfect for you, spoil that person. Buy them lunch. Get them a gift card. Nobody does this alone. So trust your training partners. You're putting your body in their hands. They're putting theirs in yours. So when you find that person that's not going to kill you, it's going to push the envelope. They're giving you their time and their youth, their vibrancy, their everything, respect that and pay for it. Give your training partner a fruit basket for Christmas.